Hello everyone and welcome back to Streaming. Today we're going to be taking a look at a Marauder build for the Thief. Now, quick disclaimer, I do not mean Thief. I am not the best at Thief whatsoever. I couldn't even play Thief to the best of my ability if I was paid money. There's something typically goes awry. So just to put that in the forefront, I am not a PvP expert or a Thief PvP expert, though I would like to cover this because I felt like I've been getting a little bit better, and just for you guys to maybe play with this build a little bit. So just saying, I'm not the best. If you would like to help me out, that is of course welcomed. So just disclaimer. Okay, so we're gonna get into this build. It is the Marauder build from Meta Battle. I will put the link down below if you'd like to go check it out yourself for a little bit more detailed explanation if I tend to confuse you at any point during this video. So getting right into it, the first weapon set that it tells you to take is sword, then dagger, and you're pretty much going to be staying this for most of the time, and then your short bow, which is pretty much just used for mobility, but can be used for some utility and some nice condition effects. The sigils that it tells you to take is Sigil of Air, Sigil of Blood, Sigil of Bloodlust, and then Sigil of Leeching. The rune is Rune of the Pack, and then our amulet is Marauder Amulet. Now you probably could change Marauder Amulet around with something else if you don't like Marauder Amulet, though this build is called the Marauder build for Thief. But then again, you can change it. You can always change things to your liking. As you will see in this build, I have changed a couple things around to fit more of my playstyle and what I think fits me better. So moving right along into the specializations. The first line is Deadly Arts, and the first trait I take is Mug. Mug is a very simple skill, or simple trait, but it can be very effective. It will damage your target and also heal you whenever you steal from that target. So, always nice to know. And it has no cooldown, so you can just use it whenever you steal. And then Panic Strike, which striking a foe that is below the health threshold immobilizes them. And that health threshold would be 50%, and it immobilizes them for about 2.5 seconds. And you will notice in this build, it's a lot of mobility and keeping your target in place. So if you enjoy that playstyle, you're probably going to have a lot of fun with this. And then the last trait that I take for this skill or specialization line is Executioner. You deal 20% increased damage when targets are at 50% health or lower. On Meta Battle, it does tell you to take improvisation, though for me personally, I tend to get some skills when I steal that aren't really beneficial in certain situations. So I would say this is more of a high risk, high reward trait. If you like to play this playstyle, you're more than welcome to go for it, but I'd rather take a trusty 20% damage increase. But hey, that's just me. And then secondly, we take Trickery. And then the first one we're taking is Flanking Strikes, which gives you haste when attacking from behind a foe or from the side of a foe. Haste and quickness, it just gives you quickness and fury, means you're going to be doing more damage and you'll be executing skills much faster. The Meta Battle site also tells you to take Thrill of Crime, but I'd rather be doing more damage than necessarily pumping out boons to allies, especially when it's just 1 stack of Fury, 1 stack of Might, and 1 stack of Swiftness. I think this has a bit more effect on the overall flow of combat, if you happen to understand where I'm coming from. Next, Bountiful Theft. This one I do happen to take, and I totally agree with. Stealing grants you and all nearby allies Vigor. And Vigor is a really important boon, especially for Thief, because of Daredevil, which is the elite specialization, which gives you 3 dodges. And just flatline, baseline, Thieves are fairly squishy, so you're definitely going to want to dodge and mitigate damage. Don't really want to be tanking, so Vigor is always nice, and I would totally agree with this. Whenever you can get a trait that allows you to steal Vigor, randomly generate Vigor, I would highly suggest looking into it and taking it. And then for the final trait that I take on this specific line is Sleight of Hand. Stealing also dazes the target and it reduces the recharge of steal. And this actually helps with Mug because you're going to be doing more damage and you're going to heal them more often, or heal yourself more often, because it's on less of a cooldown. And it's at a 20 and 3/4 second cooldown. Without this trait, it's at a 26 second cooldown. So you're shaving off about 5 1/4 of a second. So I would definitely say this is very, very useful. And then finally, as most builds require, is the elite specialization, the Daredevil. And the first one we're taking is Havoc Mastery. So you'll be dealing 7% increased damage within the range threshold of 360 degrees around the target. So as long as you're in that 360 degree range, you're going to be doing more damage. And especially with this build, because you don't have too many burst, I would say, attack or abilities, though this build can in some cases be bursty, at least from my understanding, or at least my experience. I have some trouble bursting with this build, so any damage increase is very nice. Second one is Escapist's Absolution. You're going to be removing a condi, or one condition, whenever you evade an attack, and you have 3 endurance bars, so you can get a total of 3 condis removed, and plus with Vigor, those endurance bars will be regenerated at a much faster rate. And then finally is Unhindered Combatant. This is the dash one. All 3 of these last traits modify your dodge ability. So this one will, whenever you dodge, you shoot out daggers. For this one, it is an improved dodge, which allows you to close gaps at a faster rate, and it gives you swiftness, and it will remove conditions. And then this one is more of a flat damage, and I forgot to mention the daggers will apply conditions. This one's more of a flat damage in an AoE area. So very powerful in certain situations, depending on what you want to take, especially for certain builds. Certain builds are more condi oriented, some builds are more mobility oriented, and some are just flat damage oriented. So I think those last 3 traits play very well with the majority of the thief builds out there. And just side note, Daredevil is very strong, and I think in my opinion, Daredevil is one of the most balanced and fair and logical trait lines that Thief has. But yeah, just my opinion. And so we have covered specializations. Now we shall cover the weapons and my utility choice. So I'm not going to go too in depth with the short bow, but sword and dagger, I don't know about you guys, but I don't typically play Thief, and even when I'm on Thief, I don't typically use sword dagger. So it took me a bit of time to learn how to use it and the proper cohesion and melding skills together. But it's a lot of fun. It took me some time, but I think I'm starting to get the hang of it. Your basic auto attack, it's fairly strong, especially your third strike, can do a lot of damage, and it also cripples and weakens your foe. The next one, I find this one to be quite interesting and powerful, but also quite harmful if used at the wrong time. So you will teleport to a target and it has a 900 range, so it's pretty big gap closer. So you'll teleport to your target and immobilize them and do a little bit of damage. But then if you activate it again, you will return to the place that you first initiated the strike. Now, if you use this in like the center of a point that's getting contested and you happen to infiltrator strike outside the point to like grab a straggler and then you'll teleport back in, you could end up getting ganged up on and killed. So use this wisely, I would say. And typically I would use this if you're going into a fight, like into a node, and then you can quickly back out. Your third skill is Flanking Strike, which is really, really powerful, especially with the evade. And then your Flanking Strike will end up chaining into Lacerna Strike? Sorry about the pronunciation. Turns into Flanking Strike, and then it will switch over to Lancena Strike, which will steal boons from your foe and can be quite beneficial, especially when fighting against heralds or revenants or guardians. I've found it's really fun when you steal boons. I never thought that would actually feel enjoyable, but it does. And it does quite a bit of damage, especially the second strike. The first strike does allow you to evade for half a second, which might be like, oh, it's not too much, but it's actually really, really good, especially if you're like clustered around enemies. Any evasion is always nice. 4th skill, Dancing Dagger. You'll throw a dagger, it'll bounce between people and cripple them, and then your Cloak of Dagger will stab a foe, apply vulnerability, and turn you into, or just stealth you, and then that'll chain into Tactical Strike, which your Tactical Strike, when you are in stealth, you get a new skill for your auto attack. Your Tactical Strike will do a bit of damage and blind and daze your target. So, fairly nice. Short Bow, basic auto attack. Cluster Bomb, nice AoE. Disabling Shot, which is your cripple. Choking Gas, which apply poison. As this isn't Condi, you're not going to be getting too much out of the damage side of poison. I would use this more for less healing from your enemies. And then Infiltrator's Arrow, which is your main reason why you would take Short Bow in most situations. Short Bow can be useful in other situations, not considering Infiltrator's Arrow, but Infiltrator's Arrow is very, very, very nice. And then our utilities that I have chosen to take is Channeled Vigor. They do suggest withdrawal, but I would rather have Channeled Vigor just in case I run out of endurance and I can quickly get some bars back. Plus the healing is fairly nice, but I feel more comfortable with Channeled Vigor rather than withdrawal. But in certain situations, withdrawal will probably be better because of the actual distance that you can get away from a target. And then for my 7th skill, on meta battle, one of the slots is open and you can basically choose what you want. They have suggestions down in their descriptions, but I went for Impairing Daggers. This is not one of the suggestions, but I would think, and I found that this is quite nice, especially when you're engaging, when you're first initiating a like any duel or going into a team fight, if you can pick out one target, because you'll poison them, not too much from the damage, but less healing. But I really enjoy the slow and the immobilize, especially for this build. You're fairly weak and you're fairly squishy. So if you can keep someone from moving and just performing actions slower, you're gonna have the upper hand. So that is my reason for you taking Impairing Daggers. Plus you can use it at range, so you can kind of throw Impairing Daggers and then use Infiltrator Strike as needed. Sigil, or a Signet of Agility, which increases your precision, and then you can refill your endurance and cure conditions if you happen to activate it. And then Shadow Step, your bread and butter of a thief, teleporting, a really, really far range, a typical of an assassin-styled class. I've always enjoyed Shadow Step, very, very easy to use and understand. You'll Shadow Step to an area, and then if you use it again, you will return to the area that you first Shadow Stepped from, kind of like Infiltrator Strike. So with this, you kind of get 2 Infiltrator Strikes, but Shadow Step is more free, and you can place it anywhere you want. And then finally, I take Basilisk Venom. I don't typically run with Basilisk Venom, and for those of you who are Thief players out there, you're like, you're so stupid, Groove. That I am, I admit. But I've been playing more with Basilisk Venom, and I find it to be very, very fun. I'm probably going to need to use that a lot more often. Though I actually do use the Daredevil Elite Specialization skill, which is also fun. Pretty nice, too. But this will turn your foes to stone for 1.5 seconds. It's pretty nice. Good CC. It's only on a 40-second cooldown. I thought that it would be like a little bit more, have a longer cooldown, but apparently not. So I think I'm definitely going to be switching over to this more often with my Thief builds. And yeah, that's pretty much the basics of the build. I will now be switching over to some gameplay that I have recorded. And bear in mind, once again, I am no Thief expert, and I really tried my best. I wanted to get some ample content and some gameplay, so I do hope you forgive me on any mistakes that I make for playing Thief. For those of you who are Thief players, down below, comment on how I could possibly improve, or if you see any big errors that I'm doing, because I would definitely love your insight and words to enlighten me. So yeah, I will now be switching over to the gameplay portion. See you over there. Hello everyone, and welcome to this portion of the video, the gameplay portion, where I tried to explain, discuss, and give some detail on what I did on this match. And just let me tell you, this match was semi-struggle. It was more of a learning match. And as you can tell, this is not the same transmog that I was using. This was actually the game before I totally redid my thief. I like her with the flaming helmet more than I did with her whisper stuff. But hey, just my opinion. So, I shall be discussing what I did. And I'm going to be doing this live, so be ready. So here, as you saw in the beginning, I kind of just went in for it. And I saw that there was a guardian, and in my mind, during this match, I still remember, I was like, you know what? I'm squishy. I might as well initiate the combat and get more damage on them so that they don't do more damage to me first and end up killing me. Here, I end up going down. I am still trying to figure out the mobility and when to back out and when to initiate, because the thief is fairly squishy and I just don't typically play thief. So here I did go down, and you see me over here just trying not to get any attention to me and try to rally. They end up coming behind me and end up finishing me, I believe. Yeah, I think they do. Yeah, 3 of them are on me. They end up finishing me here. And I'm going down. Sadly, I think I'd go down a couple more times in this match. Quickly cut there so you don't have to wait through that respawn time. So I noticed that our home is actually being overrun and taken. It was taken. I end up coming over here, try to retake it. I believe some people end up coming here. They might not. I'm watching this live with you guys, so I'm trying to remember what happens because I recorded about 10 games, all of which ended very poorly. But thankfully this one was actually quite decent, and it was a close match, and I like those. Never mind, this was not the match where they came and interrupted me and just killed me. So thankfully I didn't die there. Oh, I start remembering this one. Okay, here. Here, they end up going down, and I end up taking quite a lot of damage, even just from going through the traps. Dragon Hunter's overpowered. Dragon Hunter's overpowered. At least from a squishy thief point of view. So, the more experienced thieves probably are more aware of traps and not going in, but me being a noob, I just, I'm used to going on warriors or elementalists with even more sustain than a thief, even though they are fairly squishy. So right here, I try to just make sure that no one ends up coming around here. As a new player, I was kind of trying to hold my ground, and I wasn't going to push too far in, because I still hold my philosophy of, as long as you have home and mid, you're good. You don't typically need to go for far unless something's happening with home and you just can't get it, or mid, you just can't get it. Come back to mid. See, there's mini team fight. Teams aren't all on here, but it's a 3v2. Trying my best to get that guardian, because I know guardians are really, really powerful. As someone who lanes guardian, I know how much damage they can put out in a short amount of time. So I'm squishy, trying to go for that guardian. I switch over to the mesmer. I later learn in this fight that the mesmer is very squishy, so keep that in mind and watch his health bar, because he goes down in a matter of seconds. I probably should have focused more on the mesmer rather than the guardian, because mesmer's conditions are quite volatile and quite potent. I go down here once again, and here I actually break one of my rules. I tried to go for far there. I remember this now. I tried to go for far, I ended up falling down because I wanted to see, because I was with a person, I was like, I was dying, maybe I should just stick with someone. I come up here and I catches the guardian off guard. Ha, guardian's off guard. Puns, not funny at all. I end up getting her down, and this is when I start to realize that if you play your cards right and you know your mobility and where you put your infiltrator strike and on such as those things, and you're really focused on your cooldowns, you can really burst down someone fairly quickly. And as someone who is not a veteran with this build, I pretty much started today, if I keep at it, I think I can actually do a really, really good job. So I will definitely be practicing my thief gameplay. I feel like I'm just like a broken record. I just keep talking about how piss poor I am. But hey, the more you talk about your bad sides, more people will look to your good sides. Life quotes. So here, the guardian is back. She has respawned and is in for one hell of a whooping. It's 2v1. Guardians are fairly squishy, that they do have some survivability. Saw that warrior. We have a warrior on our team. He's doing fairly well. And then I see the mesmer, and I'm like, boy, this mesmer, his health bar goes down. He's already pretty much dead, but he ends up teleporting away, and because Mesmer has distortion and all that such, and plus the wells, and their healing abilities, and they have quite a decent array of survivability. So I was saying, oh, he's fairly close to dying, so let's focus him. He ends up going down here. And also, my third ability with my sword, it's fairly strong against very squishy classes, especially if they have boons, such as the Mesmer, especially Staff Condi Mesmers, because Chaos Armor and Chaos Storm, and plus their auto attack, all bounces boons on their allies, which would be my foe. So if I can steal their boons, they're not at as much of a greater advantage. And then here, there was an NG. This is where I kind of start realizing how to use Infiltrator Strike and when to get out of situations. Because I'm like, oh gosh, I'm kind of low. Let's teleport back in and out. Thankfully, I rallied here. I would have died there. So I'm trying to get around people because I have that trait that is, if you attack someone from behind or to the side of, you do more damage. I don't know why that Guardian wasn't able to stop me there. I think when I rallied there, I kind of was caught off guard because I was not expecting to rally because I didn't see anyone close to dying in my sights. So that kind of caught me off guard. That's why I ended up dying. That really wasn't me, that was more of just my human error on like a physical basis in real life, just not knowing where everything is. And then here, Tranquility is happening. And so I'm like, oh god, we have to get down there. We have to get it. Thankfully, I felt like I did fairly well here. And this was actually a really, really good fight. Like, this was a very strong fight. Oh, and then I had a notification on my computer pop up. It was like, try Office. I was like, nuh-uh. I was kind of pissed that popped up because I'm like, this is actually really good footage. I'm going to probably use this. So I was kind of mad. Hopefully excuse that. So I'm trying to go for Tranquility, and then I realized that there was an engineer right behind me. So I'm like, oh no, he's running on my parade. Let's get this damn Tranquility. We need to secure this. Already here, we're pretty much done, and spoiler, I do get it, and we end up winning. So, that was a brief gameplay video on this. I hope I did it noobish justice, but if you have any more suggestions, tips, please, I would love to hear them. Subscribe for more content, like the video if you liked it, and comment down below. Read the description for more information, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!